Welcome to Rewired for Love. I am your host, JaCarie Owens, licensed mental health counselor, EMDR basic training coach and consultant, group practice owner and supervisor at Courageous Minds Counseling, relational trauma expert, and the most important one, your honest but loving homegirl therapist who's not afraid to talk about the messy parts of healing. Around here, we talk about all things nobody taught us growing up, how our attachment styles show up in love, why our nervous system acts like a fool sometimes, and what it really takes to feel safe in our bodies. So this is not about perfection. It's about learning to love yourself in real time with grace, boundaries, and a little bit of humor. So take a deep breath. Get comfy, because we don't chase chaos, we choose calm. And this is Rewired for Love. Hey y'all, welcome back to Rewired for Love. So today, we are doing something a little bit different, but honestly, I think this might be one of my favorite types of episodes because we are talking about relational trauma through the lens of Disney movies. Yes, Disney movies. And before y'all start laughing and acting like I'm reaching, just hear me out for a second. Because some of the deepest attachment wounds be hidden in animated movies. Okay? And today, we are talking about The Princess and the Frog. But not from a usual follow your dreams perspective. No. We're talking about Tiana through the lens of a parent wound. And woo, when I tell you this movie hits different once you understand trauma and attachment, baby, different movie. So let's start here. A parent wound is not just abuse. I think that's where people get confused sometimes. People think, well, my parents loved me, my parents worked hard, I have food, I had clothes, nothing terrible happened. And sometimes that's true. But attachment wounds can happen even inside loving homes. A parent wound is any emotional experience with a caregiver that shaped how you see yourself, how you see love, safety, rest, worthiness, or even emotional connection. And sometimes the wound isn't what happened. Sometimes it's what you had to become in order to survive what happened. And that is where Tiana comes in. Because remember the beginning of the movie? Tiana, as a little girl, is dreaming with her dad, cooking with him, laughing with him, imagining their restaurant together. And honestly, those scenes are so beautiful. You can feel how loved she was by her father. But here's where it gets deeper. Tiana didn't just inherit a dream from her dad. She inherited survival. Pause. Because some of y'all inherited survival too. You inherited keep pushing, work harder, don't stop, stay focused, handle your business, don't depend on people. You gotta work twice as hard. And listen, none of those things are bad by themselves. But when survival becomes your identity, that's where the nervous system starts to struggle. Because remember the scene where Tiana is working like 42 jobs. That girl was tired. I mean, exhausted. The moment she laid down here, she had to get up here. She was on the go. And everybody around her is basically praising her for being hardworking and responsible. But no one really asked her, why does rest make her feel uncomfortable? And woo, that question right there, that's the episode. Because a lot of people that grew up with parent wounds became adults who only felt safe when they're productive. Let me say that again. Some people only feel emotionally safe when they are producing, not resting, not receiving, not slowing down, producing, achieving, performing, doing. And for a lot of us, especially Black women, that gets praised. People call it strong, independent, ambitious, resilient. Meanwhile, your whole nervous system is over there screaming for help because hyper independence is not always confidence. Sometimes it's grief with a good look of work ethic. Oof, I'm gonna let y'all sit with that one. Write that down somewhere. That sometimes hyperindependence is not always about confidence, and sometimes it's grief with good work ethic. And honestly, I think that's why so many women relate to Tiana without even realizing it, because she feels familiar, not just inspiring, but familiar. A lot of people watched that movie and saw a hardworking woman chasing her dreams. I watched it and I thought, that baby does not know how to rest. And here's the thing about parent wounds. Sometimes when a child loses emotional safety early, they start attaching their work to usefulness. Now, in Tiana's situation, she lost her father. And grief changes people, especially children, because children don't always process grief logically. Children process grief through adaptation, meaning, who do I need to become now? And Tiana became the one who pushes, the one who works, who survives, the one that keeps going no matter how tired she is. And if we're being honest, a lot of us became that person too. Some of y'all listen and don't even know how to relax without guilt. You sit down for 5 minutes and suddenly your brain talking about you could be doing something productive. Baby, that's not motivation. That's conditioning. And another thing I know about Tiana, she struggles with softness. Now, she wants love, she wants connection, but she doesn't know how to emotionally live there. And that's important because people with parent wounds often crave connection while simultaneously struggling to relax into connection. Let that sit in. They can receive stress easier than tenderness. And remember when Naveen comes into the picture? Now listen, Naveen got on my nerves at first too, because sir, grow up. But symbolically, Naveen represents something powerful in the movie. He represents play, freedom, joy, just being able to be present. And he offered flexibility. And remember how irritated Tiana is by him initially? That is because trauma survivors often view carefree people as irresponsible at first. Not because they're bad people, but because survivor mode trained them to associate worth with labor. Some of y'all literally don't trust people who rest. And that is worth unpacking. Because when your nervous system is used to chaos, pressure, hyper responsibility, softness can feel unsafe. Not bad, unsafe. That's why some people sabotage healthy relationships. That's why some people feel uncomfortable when somebody genuinely shows up for them. That's why calm relationships sometimes feel boring because your body got trained to respond to intensity, not peace. And honestly, that's one of the saddest part about relational trauma. Sometimes the very thing you need emotionally feels unfamiliar to your nervous system. Now, let's talk another layer. Tiana's identity becomes fused with achievement. Everything become once I get my restaurant, once I work enough, once I prove myself. And oof, that is such a parent wound response. Because a lot of children who experience emotional loss, emotional neglect, parentification, or even instability growing up, they believe that they have to earn rest, that they have to earn love and earn softness, and even earn support. And baby, that mindset will have you exhausted in relationships because now you're over functioning for everybody. You're always giving, you're always fixing, always carrying, always anticipating, always proving yourself, and secretly feeling resentful because nobody poured back into you the same way. But the truth is, people who learn survival early often struggle to ask for emotional care directly because somewhere deep down they learned that their needs are dangerous or that their needs make them a burden. So instead, they become useful. They become helpful, accommodating, high performing, strong. And the unfortunate part is society claps for it. Meanwhile, emotionally, you're starving. And I think that's why this movie is actually heartbreaking in some ways, because Tiana deserves support before exhaustion, not after. And some of y'all do too. You deserve care before burnout. You deserve softness before collapse. You deserve rest before your body forces you into it. And let me say this too, because I think this matters. Having a parent wound does not mean your parent was evil. Sometimes your parent loved you deeply and still passed down survival patterns, especially in communities where survival was necessary, especially in Black families, especially in immigrant families, especially for families impacted by poverty, racism, generational trauma, emotional suppression, or instability. Some parents taught survival because survival is all they knew. And two things can be true at once. Your parent loved you, and you still developed attachment wounds. Both can exist. And healing is being honest enough to hold both truths. Now, before I end this episode, I want y'all to think about something. What parts of your personality are actually survival responses? Like, really think about it. Is your hyperindependence truly empowerment? Or is it fear? Is your overworking ambition? Or is your self worth tied to performance? Is your inability to rest discipline or guilt? Is your I don't need nobody mindset actually strength? Or is it disappointment? Because healing is not about becoming a completely different person. Healing is learning that you no longer have to survive relationships the same way you did before. And honestly, that's the real magic in Princess and the Frog. Not the prince, not the restaurant. It's the fact that Tiana slowly learned she deserves joy too, not just responsibility. And baby, I hope y'all learn that too. All right, y'all. If this episode hit home, make sure you share it with someone who was praised for being the strong one. And tell me what movie y'all want me to break down next through relational trauma lens. Because honestly, I'm having way too much fun with this series. I'll talk to y'all next episode. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Rewired for Love. If today's conversation resonated with you, share it with someone you care about, or take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback helps this community to grow and keeps these healing conversations flowing. You can also follow me and come hang out with me on all socials, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of them at Rewired for Love Podcast. Go there to get your daily doses of healing, honesty, and a whole lot of love. Until next time, keep listening to your body, lead with compassion, and remember, you are safe enough to love and be loved.